ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Car Boss Lee, and today, as you can tell, we are working on the Ford Freestyle today, and we're not doing any performance modifications, but we're doing something that is very necessary as a maintenance procedure. Today we're going to be changing out the brake pads and the brake rotors. I will be only changing out the brake rotors on the front. I will keep the ones on the rear, but we are going to change all 4 brake pads. So without further ado, let's get started. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so first things first, I'm on the driver's side. I'm going to go ahead and take the tire off. It's a 19 millimeter. You can use your impact wrench or just your wrench that comes in the car. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so now I got the tire off, I am up at the top of the caliper. You'll see that there is a nut here and a nut here. So what we are going to do is, this is a 13 millimeter, this is an 18 millimeter. We're going to hold this nut with the 18 and loosen this one with the 13. Same thing on the bottom. We're going to do the same thing there. So let's go ahead and get this top one loose, get the bottom loose, and then this caliper here should slide out. Alrighty, now that we got both those removed, this caliper should slide pretty much off. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so I got the brake caliper off. It was a little bit of a process. With this caliper won't come off unless you compress the pistons. So if you just take a C-clamp, so for instance, if this was on here just like that, you would take your C-clamp, put it on the edge of this brake caliper, and this brake pad, and then go on the back of the caliper and compress the pistons forward, which would allow this caliper to loosen and come out. So these are your 2 pistons right here, one there and one there. You just got to compress those. Now that that is good, I'll set that up here. Do not hang it by the hose, you can cause damage with that. But now we have access to our brake pads. They just slide out, and looking at this brake pad, it doesn't look like it's exactly wearing evenly, but that's why we're replacing the rotors, so we don't have that problem. I'm gonna look at the back here. Yeah, the backs are quite worn too, and that's not even as well. But I'll go ahead and take our little clamps out. They just pop right out. Get that out of the way. So now we're just left with our brake caliper brace. We're going to take this off as well. There's a bolt up top and a bolt down bottom. We're going to go ahead and take that out. I don't know the size, but we're about to find out. I have a feeling it's a 15, and it is. So take your 15 millimeter, take that out, and then this should come out to where we're able to get our rotor off. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, now that I got that off, now we have free range to this whole rotor. This whole rotor is held on by one T40 Torx bit, so we're going to take that out, and this hub should come right off. So now that that's out of the way, the hub should slide right off. Now we got our old rotor. I'm not going to really use that anymore, but looks like our hub is in good shape. Anyways, I'll go ahead and clean this stuff off, make it all nice and shiny, and then we'll go ahead and put on the new stuff. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so I've got everything cleaned up on the hub. All the designated lines are where they need to be. Now we're good to go ahead and put on our new rotor. I'll go ahead and slide it on there. I did it in the right hole. There we go. Perfect. Now we're going to put in our new bolt. Not new, I'm sorry, we're going to use the old one. And this bolt's going to get torqued down to 9 foot-pounds. Go ahead and tighten this bad boy up. Alrighty, so it is torqued to 9 foot-pounds. And now we're going to go ahead and put our brake caliper brace back on. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, and the bolts that we just put back with the 15 millimeter, these are going to be torqued down to 74 foot-pounds. Now that those are torqued down, now we can go ahead and put our new brake pads in, along with our new clips. Now we can go ahead and put in our new brake pads. Just for a little comparison, this is what I pulled off. This is what we're putting back on. So you can see quite a bit of the size difference. So they were in need of replacing for sure. Alright, now the last thing we're going to do before we put the brake caliper back on is we're going to compress the pistons all the way. So we're going to take our C-clamp and compress them, and then we're going to go ahead and put our brake caliper back on, and then this will wrap up the driver's side. So let's go ahead and compress those pistons. And I'm sure you guys can see, you might not be able to, but the piston is going in right here. This piston's going in now that I'm clamping it. And then go all the way in. Just so that way I know that we are all even throughout the board. And so that way this caliper will slide onto our new brake pads. Now that the new brake pads are new, there's going to be a lot of brake pad left now. Alright, so now that the pistons are compressed, I should be able to go ahead and put this caliper Right back on. Perfect. We'll go ahead and do our bolts up top and bottom. We'll get those locked in. We'll get these bad boys torqued down. Alrighty guys, and these top bolts we just put on the caliper, we're going to take our 13 and we're going to torque them down to 44 foot-pounds. Alrighty, this caliper will be a little bit loose until we pump the brakes and apply the brakes, but the driver's side is now done. We got our new rotor on here, we got our new brake pads, new clips, so everything is fresh and brand spanking new on this side. I'm going to do the same thing to the driver's side, but I'm not going to show you guys because I already did the driver's. The passenger side, same exact ordeal, it's just a little backwards since you're on the passenger side, but other than that, I'm going to quickly do the passenger side and then we'll move on to the rear. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so we are now on the rear. I took the wheel off, same thing, 19 millimeter, take it off. Now here's our rear caliper, and as you can tell, it's way smaller than the front, but it is basically the same thing. We have a top bolt and a bottom bolt. We're going to use the same 13 millimeter to loosen it, and we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to compress the piston as well to get it out. Once we get it out, then we'll be able to tackle the brakes. Alrighty, now that that's off, we can actually get to our brakes. Our brake pads here. Let me take a look, see how we're looking on these. Not terrible, but we're gonna replace them anyways. Take this back one out. Same thing, not that terrible. Go ahead and get our new brake pads out with our new clips. Go ahead and slap in our new brake pads. Alright, now that we got our brake pads there, we're going to do the same thing, compress the caliper all the way, so that way we know that we are starting from a fresh start. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so unfortunately I lost the footage right after you just saw this last clip, but I will give you the rundown of basically how to finish the process. There is a different way to compress those pistons on the rear. You have a special tool that you got to get online. It's got 2 little grooves in it, and you counterclockwise and you clockwise twist the pistons. So as you counterclockwise them, they will turn back in. So I will leave the link in the description for that tool, but that finishes the job, and everything else is the same exact way on the front. Put your bolts back in, tighten them to torque specs. So that concludes the tutorial on the brake calipers and brake rotors for the Ford Freestyle. I hope this video was helpful for you. I know it was for me. So I try to help you guys out there any way I can. So if you like this video, please give this video a like. If you have not already, subscribe to Call Boss Elite, and we'll catch y'all in the next one.